Did you know that many women involved in secret relationships unintentionally reveal what they're hiding through the words they use? In this video, we'll look at 4 common phrases that are often associated with women who are emotionally involved with someone else. These expressions may completely change the way you see certain behaviors in relationships. If you're a man in a relationship, this video may help you recognize warning signs that you've noticed before but never really paid attention to. Before we begin, if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment "noticed" below so I know you're watching until the end. Now, before we get into the first phrase, there's something important you should understand. Infidelity rarely begins overnight. In most cases, it develops gradually through emotional and psychological changes that build over time. Psychologists believe that our language often reflects what's happening deep inside our subconscious mind. When someone is trying to balance 2 relationships at the same time, that mental pressure creates what is known as cognitive overload. As a result, hidden emotions can begin to appear through everyday conversations without the person even realizing it. Have you ever noticed your partner saying something that sounded unusual or completely different from the way she normally speaks? Stay until the end, because these phrases may change how you interpret certain situations. Phrase number 1. You don't understand me anymore. Or, you don't know me like you used to. At first, these words simply sound painful, but sometimes they carry a much deeper meaning. In certain situations, she may feel that someone else understands her better than you do. Without realizing it, she begins comparing her current relationship with another connection that feels more emotionally satisfying. From a psychological perspective, this can become a way of justifying her own behavior. Once she convinces herself that her partner no longer understands her, seeking emotional comfort somewhere else starts to feel reasonable in her own mind. Meanwhile, you begin questioning yourself, wondering what you did wrong, when the truth may be far more complicated than it appears. But don't stop here, because the second phrase may reveal even more. Phrase number 2. I need some space, or I just need some time for myself. Wanting personal space is completely normal. However, when this phrase is repeated frequently, it's worth paying attention. Sometimes it doesn't mean she wants distance from everyone. Instead, it may simply mean she wants distance from you while making room for another part of her life. Look closely at her actions instead of just listening to her words. If she constantly says she needs space but remains highly active on social media, goes out regularly, spends plenty of time with friends, and rarely includes you, then personal space may not be the real issue. Women who genuinely need time alone usually spend it resting, reflecting, healing emotionally, or focusing on self-improvement. But when there's an emotional attachment to someone else, the desire to socialize often remains strong. Only now, the primary partner is left out. Another interesting detail is the timing. Requests for space often appear shortly after moments of emotional closeness or physical intimacy. Feelings of guilt may cause someone to create temporary distance as a way of reducing emotional pressure. The next 2 phrases are even more revealing. So let's continue. Now let's move on to the third phrase, one of the most important ones because it usually sounds completely reasonable. Phrase number 3. This has nothing to do with you, or it's not about you. You'll often hear this after you've noticed a change in her behavior and ask what's wrong. Instead of giving you a clear explanation, she simply tells you that it has nothing to do with you. But in a healthy relationship, emotional changes almost always affect both partners in one way or another. Sometimes this phrase is used to avoid difficult conversations or to keep certain parts of her life hidden. The unspoken message is often, "Please don't ask any more questions." Many men overlook this statement, especially when it appears alongside emotional distance, less affection, or a sudden change in attitude. When you start asking about these changes, saying it's not about you becomes an easy way to avoid revealing the real reason. Interestingly, from a psychological point of view, she may even believe she's protecting you by keeping the truth to herself. But in reality, the only thing it does is create more confusion and prevent honest communication. Now let's move on to the fourth phrase, which is one of the most convincing because it naturally earns sympathy. Phrase number 4. I'm going through a difficult time, or I have a lot on my mind right now. This is one of the most common explanations people give when they want to avoid talking about what's really happening. The moment you hear these words, your natural instinct is usually to be understanding. You don't want to make things worse, so you stop asking questions and give her the space she requested. But here's something worth thinking about. People who are genuinely struggling emotionally usually turn toward the people they trust most. They look for support, comfort, and reassurance from their partner. However, in some cases of infidelity, this phrase becomes a convenient excuse for creating emotional distance. Instead of bringing you closer during a difficult time, it slowly pushes you further away. Of course, none of these phrases alone prove that someone is cheating. Everyone can say these things for completely honest and innocent reasons. The real key is to pay attention to patterns rather than isolated words. If several of these behaviors appear repeatedly over time, along with sudden emotional distance, secrecy, or unexplained changes in attitude, they deserve your attention. Healthy relationships are built on trust, honesty, and open communication. Instead of jumping to conclusions, use these signs as reasons to observe carefully and have mature conversations with your partner. Understanding psychology isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about becoming more emotionally aware, recognizing unhealthy patterns early, and protecting yourself from confusion before it's too late. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which of these 4 phrases have you heard before? Let me know below, and I'll see you in the next video.